It's game time, so get your strapped. The magic sponge doused and the oranges cut, chilled and quartered as we take the field for WCBH Darwin Sports Radio. WCBH Darwin Sports Radio.
In baseball, the NT Buffaloes Senior League emerging squad have just wrapped up their campaign at the 2026 Queensland State Titles. Kai Moranen from Baseball NT joins me, along with Lucas Parambo, one of the players and I believe the captain of the squad. Good morning, Kai. Good morning, Lucas.
Good morning, Cam. How you doing?
Yeah, well, thanks, Kai. Great to have you back on WCBH. And Lucas, great to have you making your WCBH debut.
Yep, thanks.
Hey, Kai, can you start off by just telling us who are the NT Buffaloes Senior League emerging squad? It's quite a mouthful of a name.
Yes, so it is quite a mouthful of a name. We do love being a bit high maintenance here at Baseball NT. So the Northern Territory Buffaloes, as I hope most of your listeners know, are the representative, I guess, umbrella of all of our baseball teams in the territory. The Senior League referred to the age group that we were playing in. So the Senior League age group from a baseball point of view is ages between 16 and 13, sort of like an under-16s competition. It falls under the big Little League umbrella, which is a big US sort of age system over there. And emerging just refers to the division of play. So emerging in our case is sort of like a Division 2 competition. So NT Buffalo Senior League emerging basically means NT Buffaloes under 16s Division 2, for lack of a better word. So,
okay. And Lucas, how old are you, mate?
I'm 14.
You're 14, and was this your first AAA touring with baseball?
No, this was my 5th or 6th, I think.
Wow, so you're a fairly experienced campaigner, and you were the captain of the squad?
Yeah, I was this year.
And do you know how many teams were participating in the Queensland State Trials?
I think there was 8.
8 teams.
7.
And 7 teams. And whereabouts was the competition played?
In Ipswich.
And how'd the team go?
We did pretty well. We were 3-1-2, and it was just a really fun tournament. We were competing in every game, and it was, a really fun experience.
So when you say 3-1-2, so 3 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, or is that what you mean? That's a fantastic result, particularly for a Northern Territory team. Kai, can I ask, what was the format of the games?
Yep, so 7 teams is obviously a very tricky number. I mean, any sort of competition format. So basically how it went along was the tournament was played across 3 days, and it was a doubleheader every day. So every team played each other once. Pretty standard format, 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss, with the aggregate standings at the end there. So luckily enough, with our record, we ended up with a silver medal. So the first medal for a junior NT Buffaloes side in 15 years, Cam.
Well, that's a fantastic result. Well done to you, and of course, well done to you, Lucas, as well. Am I right that it was a co-ed tournament?
Yeah, so it was a co-ed tournament. So all of the Little League age groups are open to both boys and girls. It was good to see a good split of females up across all the teams. Like we had one girl on our team, young Chelsea Erickson, who was awesome to see. But yeah, open to boys and girls right across the board.
And look, it's Baseball Northern Territory, and so you took away a squad that wasn't just Darwin based. There were players from across the territory.
Yeah, it was really awesome to see. We took away 12 players and 5 staff. So all 5 of our travelling staff, 3 coaches, an executive officer and scorer were all Alice Springs based. And then the players were split up 8 and 4, split towards Alice Springs as well. So 4 kids from Darwin, 8 kids from Alice, and then the 5 staff from Alice as well, which was really cool to see.
That's tremendous to hear that Alice Springs is, up there competing with Darwin. Lucas, you're Alice Springs based, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And how long have you been playing baseball?
Well, I played baseball when I was in the States when I was 7 or 8, and I've been playing ever since when I moved here 5 years ago.
Yeah, okay. So you're originally from the States and you've moved to Australia?
Yeah.
And our listeners won't be able to see, but you're wearing a hat. Tell us about the hat. I think you're in competition with Kai for your Major League Baseball team.
Yeah, so since I'm from Colorado, I'm a Rockies fan. So
Okay. Well, let's go through the results, and you'll have to help me out with some of the things here. So, first game you came up against Brisbane South, 11-all draw,
Yeah, it was a draw.
and then you took on North Queensland next. How did that one go?
That was a very good game. It was still on the same day. And then we were driving in runs really well. Everyone on the team was supporting everyone. And yeah, it was a really fun game, good vibes, and we were able to win 14-7.
That's a fantastic result. And then Kai, a good win over Brisbane West.
Yeah, but Brisbane West, it was a good 11-8 game over them. They were sort of the favourites going into the week, I think it was safe to assume. So Brisbane West were actually the home side, I guess, with a lot of the local players from Ipswich playing in that tournament for Brisbane West. 11-8 game, we actually had a young player, Austin Cunningly from Canberra, join us for the week. So he was, which I forgot to mention before when we're talking about player splits, unfortunately, but he threw the whole game for us that game, recording 8 strikeouts across his 4 innings pitch, which was awesome to see. So, yeah, some really good baseball played that day.
Okay, so you're basically taking one pitcher into the game. Is that the game plan, or sometimes you'll bring on a second pitcher?
I wish game plans all went that easy, only being able to pick one pitcher. Unfortunately, it's not always the case. Each game we sort of nominate a starting pitcher to go forward, and with youth baseball there is a bunch of pitch restrictions on each of the players, mainly just around safety, with how many pitches they're allowed to throw on a given day and how many days rest they need to have after the fact as well. So it's a really key part for coaches in these tournaments to be able to, I guess, organise and sort of plan ahead with all these restrictions, and especially in the Queensland State Titles, where it's condensed even further over 3 days as opposed to a Nationals, which might be 5 or 6 days. We had to stay quite on top of the numbers. So the coaches did a really good job in terms of planning out the weekend in that facet, as well as keeping on top of all the kids in their pitch count.
Yeah, gotcha. So there's a cap on the number of pitches you can throw over in a particular day, so
Yeah.
you don't sort of get those repetitive injuries. Gotcha. Lucas, can you explain this one to me? 13-12, you went down to Brisbane Metro, but I've seen the note there that it was a walk-off. What does that mean?
So at the end of the game, we were fielding, and then their team had hit the ball and scored the winning run. So once they scored, the game was over because we didn't have another chance to bat since it was the bottom of the inning.
Gotcha. So it's the bottom of the final innings, and then they scored the winning run, and that's what the term walk-off means?
Yes.
Thanks for explaining that. And then Brisbane North. I grew up on the north side of Brisbane, so you came up against my old area. 15-4 win over Brisbane North.
Yep. It was a very good game. A lot of people recorded hits in that game, and the vibe was also really high during that game. We had an early day that day as well, so we woke up early, started training, and then we had a really early game where it was like pretty much whoever was ready to play that day would have won the game. And so we just came out, we were hitting really well. Everyone was cheering on everyone else, and so that's how we won 15-4.
And what's your role in the team? Are you a pitcher, a batsman, a catcher?
Well, everyone bats who's in the field, and then
Yes.
almost everyone had a chance to pitch during this tournament, but in that game, I was shortstop. And so, yeah, I was in the middle trying to run the infield, make sure everyone's ready when the ball comes, and then helping out when the ball gets hit, where to throw the ball.
Okay, so I would imagine that shortstop is a fairly high pressure position. You've got to have fast skills in the field, and to translate it into cricketing terms, like I would imagine it's almost like fielding it slips or it's pretty close to the wicket.
I don't know anything about cricket, so I don't know what that means.
Kai, help me out there. I'm trying to.
Yeah. I would probably argue that. I think shortstop is very much I guess the general of the infield. You know, basically where it's positioned on the field is where most batters will more or less hit the ball. And historically, especially in the major leagues, a lot of the most athletic players generally end up playing shortstop, just with the importance of the position. So, I guess in terms of, relative to cricket, I would probably say mid-on or mid-off,
Yeah.
depending on the game.
So very fast reaction speed, got to make quick decisions,
Yeah,
a
and
good arm.
a lot of ground to cover as well. So
Yeah.
it's basically sort of got the whole middle of the diamond and probably the longest throw across the infield as well.
Yeah, okay. So pretty important position out there on the field. And then the final game, I think, was that a combined Sunshine Coast Gold Coast team you came up against?
Yeah, it was.
And that one it ended up in a draw, I believe.
Yeah. So Lucas Nixon. The other Lucas was pitching, and he pitched really well. And we hit really well, but there was just a few errors on our side that made us end up in a draw. So that was about it there. Just few errors on our side. Everyone was a bit tired, and the energy just wasn't as high as some of the other games.
It's interesting, those carnival type competitions. I was watching the results coming through on the social media. I was sort of jotting down a few notes, and what interested me, it was just a ladder system. There was no final series in this comp.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah, correct.
Sorry?
So yeah, just with the 3-day format and the 7 teams, there's actually a limit for how many games that kids can play in a day, just from a safeguarding perspective. And so they're sort of limited to 2-hour games a day. So without extending the tournament by an extra day, yeah, it was just sort of outright scoring at the end. So probably a little bit, as Lucas can probably attest, probably a little bit of a nervous wait in the afternoon there while we're waiting for the other results to come in and find out where we wrapped up, because gold was potentially in play up to the very last game of the evening. But yeah, incredibly happy with the result and incredibly happy with how the kids held themselves throughout the week, and they should be really, really proud of what they achieved.
Yeah, fantastic result to earn the silver medal, but also just to go away as a travelling team. And as we know from Eritrea, we're not from necessarily the same region, so you're sort of combining players from Darwin, from Alice. You mentioned the player from Canberra, so to come together whilst being away, that's a tremendous effort. Is this all part of like a pathways program, Kai, for our young baseball athletes in the territory?
More or less, yes. So these are our major events throughout the year that we're trying to funnel all of our kids into. Unfortunately, we don't, again, like you sort of mentioned, being a smaller state, we don't quite have the reach or the top end talent to be able to step into the true performance pathway with Baseball Australia, where there are those national events for full state teams, which take place in January. But however, what our presence at these tournaments does provide is an opportunity for our kids to be able to showcase themselves to those bigger states to potentially take up opportunities at that higher level. And you might have seen on our Facebook page already this week, Cam, we do have young Hannah Fior, who has been a member of the Buffaloes over in past years as well, and one of Luke's best mates. On top of that, she was actually playing with the Queensland youth women's team at the youth women's nationals this week too. So basically her performances with these NT Buffalo trips away has sort of given her the launching pad to be picked up by the bigger states, and that's sort of what we're hoping to achieve with all of our kids who go away. And obviously in the future, I would love to take an NT team back into the performance stream. Whether it's next year or 5 years from now, we'll have to wait and see. But I think just giving these kids opportunity to get out of the territory and play quality baseball is really, really good for them, and it makes it really easy with how well they represent themselves when they're away. And we've got an incredible culture that's been set by all of our coaches. That we obviously have this difficulty in distance with trying to meld teams together from Darwin and Alice Springs quite often at short notice, but with the expectations that are set, and how hard the coaches work and the communication channels we sort of set up, you wouldn't tell within 20 minutes of this group getting together who's from where. And that's probably the coolest thing on my part, sort of overseeing all of this.
Yeah, brilliant. Lucas, what was the best thing about the tournament?
It's really fun to play 6 games in 3 days, where in Alice Springs, there's not a lot of kids that play baseball. So in our junior league, we have 2 teams, so we verse each other back to back to back. So versing different people was really fun. But then also the other activities that we did while we were there, laser tag, mini golf, go-karting, that was also really fun.
Yeah, how good's that? Lucas, well done on representing the Northern Territory, picking up a silver medal. And Lucas and Kai, thanks so much once again for joining us on WCBH.
Yeah, thank
Or
you.
Cam, anytime.
It's game time. get your strapped, the magic sponge doused and the oranges cut, chilled and quartered as we take the field for WCBH Darwin Sports Radio. WCBH Darwin Sports Radio.